All right, what we got here? Contra actually putting out her thoughts on Israel Palestine, which okay, we're gonna start by doing a little bit of prefacing. This is an I think this is an noticeable pattern of behavior that Contra has engaged in before. Contra gets canceled incredulously by a bunch of like dipshit fucking leftists looking at you, Mike from PA, and like really annoying Twitter users and like really annoying just like MLs for the most part, small minority of fucking people, and then she decides to do a follow-up post in anger because she's I suppose stubborn is a term. Stubborn, I guess, is a term that can be used here. But yeah, what do we got here? What do we have? So many leftists feel betrayed because I haven't made a video on Palestine. Well, I mean, you're a philosopher, right? Geopolitics isn't your thing. This is the original thing that I even said in my like Death of Subjectivity Part 2 video, right? Like, I don't blame Contra for not making a video on like a historical geopolitical conflict because again, like you probably didn't want to / didn't feel like it was your place to make a comment on that, right? Like, I think that's fine, right? There's some things that you just don't want to talk about, but the thing is that like instead of saying that, you're deciding to like talk further and further about it, like because you feel like you need to respond to a bunch of shit, and it's whatever. Do they actually want a Contrapoints video about Palestine? Will they be happy if I get in the bath and pour milk on a mannequin of Benjamin Netanyahu? No, I've posted about Gaza occasionally and I've quietly given money to Palestinian organizations. But I think what leftists really want for me is for me to join their chorus of anger. Okay, how to deconstruct this? The problem is I don't think anyone's really demanding for that in particular. I'll be quite honest. The the thing that she's replying to here is like her post where she talked about saying like 60,000 Gazans were killed because of what Israel is doing, which is broadly speaking the numbers that are being reported on, and she didn't specify the fact that that is definitely more. That's the thing that stupid, dumb fucking lefties are getting triggered about. Okay? Now, the problem is that it is just death of fucking subjectivity being displayed by the fucking lefties. Because there was nothing wrong in what that initial thread that Contrapoints posted was, right? She was broadly operating off of, like, widely reported information and stuff like that. She probably thinks it's more, but people are being incredibly fucking dishonest and going after her because they have to fucking signal to their audiences saying like, guys, I'm a part of this table at lunch. Look at me. I'm so hecking based and epic and cool. Please like me. And it's just like, okay, like we're just not engaging in like honest discourse here then. You just want to like signal and like grift to people. And that's like the case for a lot of like more stupid, dumb fucking Puritan lefties. However, the problem is that Contra is engaging in a little bit of potential death of subjectivity herself, right? Deciding to just keep posting about it and maybe not necessarily understanding the position that the lefties are coming from, or maybe she's just probably overthinking this and is saying things out of anger. Now, I personally believe that it is the latter rather than the former. I think she really understands the position that lefties have and, like, you know, sort of understands that the genocide is really fucking bad. She just wants to elect to not necessarily post anything about it. The problem is that a bunch of, like, annoying ass like lefties just want to like morally preen and be like stupid and kind of annoying about it, which is like you can just ignore those guys, just be like, okay, I've said the piece, I'm just going off of like widely reported, you know, statistics that have been reported in the media. Like if you don't like that, cope seethe about it. Like I'm just going off of that. I haven't looked any further than that. The genocide is bad, free Palestine. And that probably would have been fine. But the thing is that she decided to, like, keep left bashing. And that's, like, the bigger problem that I have, right? If she did the first thing and just ignored them, that would have been fine. But she, went back into the pattern of behavior that Contrapoints has had before. Now, I recently watched her fucking video on canceling, right? And I thought I rewatched it, rather. It's a good video. It's a good video talking about the behavior that a lot of, like, annoying Twitter people will, broadly speaking, engage in to sort of, like, gin up particular, like, cancellation mobs and techniques that they do and shit like that. And her points there were pretty much on point. The problem is now she's basically going further down the rabbit hole herself. Now, she's not really doing the exact same fucking shit as she used to before. Probably not. Is, like, mostly what I'm going with here. She's mostly just deciding to, like, repeat a lot of, and we're going to get into it throughout the rest of this sort of Reddit post. She decides to sort of, like, repeat a lot of the more Israeli sort of Zionist propagandistic talking points. When, again, she's just, like you're saying, yeah, perfect, Boy Meets Minnie. Yeah, I gotta admit, she's doing the very same purity testing she accuses the left of. Just as bad. Yes, but in a more, like, liberal sort of Zionist perspective, right? It's... The problem that I mostly have is just the left bashing. That's the issue that I have here. Which is, not necessarily death of subjectivity, right? She's just... Honestly, I think she's just mad. She's just angry that, again, the exact same community that she should find sort of rapport with is, again, seemingly, like, stabbing her in the back. Or at least that's what I think in her mind. Or at least what she thinks in her mind. They sense some hesitation on my part and are judging me very harshly on my presumed opinions. I'd rather be judged on my actual opinions, so here they are. Is Israel committing a genocide in Gaza? Yes. Do I oppose it? Yes. Do I feel angry about it? Yes. I also feel a lot of other things. 1. Doom. The week after October 7th, it was clear the mood among Israeli leaders and civilians was overwhelmingly kill or be killed existential panic and unstoppable lust for revenge. It reminded me of the US after 9/11. There was no reasoning or protesting them out of it. Okay, but the problem is like, if, broadly speaking, you understand what's, like, going on here, then you should advocate for, the Democratic Party, because that was the party who was in power, is to stop sending armaments to Israel, to not fuel the genocide. That's the fucking problem, right? Because, like, I agree with what Natalie's saying here. You're not going to be able to reason with the Israeli populace. That's not fucking happening, okay? They're completely propagandistically captured, right? Wholeheartedly so, right? It's like, maybe like a 10% amount of, like, Israelis living in Israel are, like, anti-Zionist or some shit, right? Like, that's like the fucking problem here, right? So saying stuff like this is, like, not really necessary, right? Like, you should do everything possible to try to make it such that the US doesn't help fuel the genocide, because that's what they're doing. Nor was it politically feasible for the US to withdraw aid to Israel on a time frame that would make a difference. Alright, but you should still try to fight it and not go after people who are trying to fight that, right? It would have required replacing most of Congress and overturning decades of bipartisan strategy and diplomacy. Even the best case scenario, it would have taken years, so there was a sense of futility. But worse, number 2, misery. The leftist pro-Palestine movement quickly decided that their primary goal was not merely opposition to the genocide, but opposition to Zionism in general. Well, yeah, the basis for as to why the whole situation within Israel-Palestine exists is because of Zionism, right? Like, no shit. That's the root cause. That's the basis right there. Theodore Herschel himself, when he wrote his book, talking about, like, it looks like something colonial or something nationalistic in terms of the description of Zionism in of itself. I'm getting the quote wrong, but close enough. That is opposition to the existence of Israel as a Jewish state. And this is the main fucking problem here. This is the propaganda fucking line. Okay? When Zionists talk about Israel as a Jewish state, what they mean is ethno-nationalism, ethno-supremacy, with Zionists sort of being specifically Ashkenazi Jewish people being the main people that are in control of the state of Israel and pushing out every other sort of minority within there. Because again, once they get rid of the Palestinians, do you really not think they're not going to go after MENA Jewish people? Ethiopian Jewish people? I guarantee you they probably will. Because Zionists tend to be very fucking racist. And here they decided to draw the line separating decent people from genocidal fascists, which had the following consequences. It shrunk the coalition. Zionists is a very broad category. Most Jews are Zionists. Anyone who supports a two-state solution is a Zionist. Again, the problem is you're conflating Zionism with Judaism. Let's be honest here. Zionists and Zionism is not Judaism. They are not congruent positions. One is an ethno-nationalist ideology, and the other is a religious and a cultural affiliation. These are not the same thing. It was politically infeasible. What is a pathway that takes us from the present situation to the dissolution of Israel as a Jewish state? I don't think anyone's really asking that. I think, broadly speaking, if we're talking about from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Broadly speaking, they're probably saying stuff that Avi Shlaim or fucking Ilan Pape are saying, that Israel should be a one-state, there should be a one-state solution with equal rights for all. That is difficult to achieve. It's definitely politically infeasible now, considering what's happened, but it's one of those goals that are sort of aspirational in the end. We'll get there, Boy Meets Mini. No lefty is unless they're bat empanada stands and really dumbass fucking American diabolist type people are advocating for the dissolution of Israel as a state. I don't think anyone's advocating for that because they know that's just not realistic. I don't see how this could happen without either a total internal collapse of Israeli society or else, nuclear war. As usual, leftists have championed a doomed cause. Again, I don't understand, which, collection of leftists. I've described some leftists who might be championing this doomed cause. But, that's not a large portion of them. It's a minority of a minority. It's tiny. It introduced dangerous ambiguities. The vagueness of Zionism as a political Satan enables all kinds of rhetorical abuses. On the one hand, right-wing Israelis hold up all anti-Zionist protests as existentially threatening and inherently anti-Semitic. Sure, but that's propaganda, again. On the other hand, there is a long history of anti-Semites using the term Zionist in deliberately equivocal ways, Zog, etc. Anti-Semites are happy for the opportunity to misappropriate the now popular anti-Zionist label to legitimize their agenda, and many people are not informed enough about anti-Semitism to recognize when this is happening. These problems are mutually reinforcing. I don't disagree with this. However, no leftist who broadly says that they are anti-Zionist agrees with any of the bullshit, and they very often call out the people like Nick Fuentes, the people like Sneeko, Fresh and Fit, a bunch of other stupid far-right fucking dipshits who pretend to be anti-fucking Zionists, when in reality they're just anti-Semites and just, I don't know, want to see the destruction of Israel because, I don't know, they hate Jewish people. This is it's a false equivalence, basically, is what I'm saying here. No lefty agrees with right-wing anti-Zionists. None of them. I've even the most radical of radical anti-Zionists will call out Nick Fuentes' fucking bull. The bad empanada types is what I mean here. Will call out the bullshit that is Sneeko or Nick Fuentes or the Fresh and Fit pod and all these other complete dumbasses constantly. 3. Dread. The online left has spent the last 20 months distributing hundreds of photos and videos of dead Palestinian children. Well, it's not only that. let's be honest here. It's not only the left, okay? It's also the Israelis who are seemingly doing that as well. Okay, let's not be silly here, Natalie. The main effect of this has been to create a population of people in a constant state of blood-boiling rage with no consequential political outlet. I feared this may be worse than useless. Wait, what do you mean no consequential political outlet? Really? What do you mean? Like, hold on. A Democrat approval of Israel. This is from February. That's 33% of Democrats have a favorable view of Israel. Gallup poll. This was about 2 months ago. This is more recent. So this is from March. Less than half in U.S. Now sympathetic towards Israelis. Right? Middle East situation. How are your sympathies more with the Israelis or with the Palestinians? 46% with the Israelis. And it's going down. This is the overall population. It's 33% of the Palestinians, right? This is also Republicans as well. And it's been trending significantly downwards. The Republicans broadly sympathize with the Israelis because they're Republicans and they're terrible. I want the Democrats. Let's see. Republicans more likely to view 83% versus 33% respectively, while Democrats view the Palestinian territories more favorably than Republicans. 45% versus 18%. So that's in March. And this is most recent. June 12th. About a month ago. Just 12% of Democratic voters sympathize more with Israelis than Palestinians. Which means like most don't know or are sympathetic. 12% of Dem voters sympathize with the Israelis. Let's see. What's the breakdown here? I just want the Democrats. 60% of Democratic voters sympathize with the Palestinians, and 29% did not offer an opinion. It's a supermajority. 60%, Natalie. If the Democratic Party, like, okay, Majority Report raised a really good point about this, okay? The Republicans have their culture war topics. This is the Democrats' culture war topics. Right here. It's Israel-Palestine. If you do not sympathize with the Palestinians, nowadays, as a Democratic politician, you're probably cooked. There's a video about this. It's a Harry Enton video talking about this. Let me pull it up. Talk about the sympathies of Palestinians. Let's see. Harry Enton. Palestine. Let's pull up our boy.
This morning, Zohran Mamdani is officially the Democratic nominee.
I just want to get to my boy.
City mayor, and he's now.
Now Democrats sympathize more with the Palestinians by 43.
This is a change in 8 years. 56%. This is insanity in terms of the shift here. And I would make the argument, honestly, that a significant portion of this shift happened in probably the past 2 years. 2 years it took for this monumental fucking shift, right? It was probably always like consistently like plus maybe like 10, 8, 5%, I would say. And then the genocide starts happening and it precipitously drops in terms of favorability towards the Israelis. This is insanity, dude. And this is in the course of about 8 years, I guess, in terms of like when this poll was fucking taken, right?
By 14 points 8 years ago, and then all of a sudden the other side of the equation leading by 57 points. The bottom line is
and this is people aged 18 to 49, young people. The people who are probably the most important, because they're mostly specifically here, I think, in this segment, focusing on Zohar Mamdani. And median age of people in New York, 38 years old, plus 57 sympathies to the Palestinians. If the Democratic Party wants to survive as a party, they have to become more Palestinian, all right? No more fucking AIPAC money. You're fucking cooked. John Fetterman is definitely, his ass is fucking grass. He's totally fucking cooked. But this is the direction that's going on right now with the Democratic Party. They are becoming more significantly sympathetic to the Palestinians. And, like, why wouldn't they be? Like I said before, IDF, as your lawyer, personally, I believe that your soldiers constantly posting the fact that they're just murdering fucking children all the fucking time, you guys should keep going with that. You know, it's going to be a very, very good thing for you guys to be constantly doing in order to garner sympathies amongst the sort of more general U.S. populace. Please, Israel, keep posting shit like, I don't know, the mulched remains of bombed fucking children and being proud about it as your little soldiers decide to gallivant about within the homes of Palestinians, putting like women's underwear on their fucking heads, being like, haha, look at me, I'm like a little funny a gremlin clown guy. And it's just like, yeah, dude, man, that's gonna be like a great fucking idea for you to be doing in order to ingratiate yourselves more with the populace of the people that you that you broadly speaking rely on for the most support for your existence as a state. That's gonna be very, very good. Where were we? Online left sharing no consequential political outlet. I fear this may be worse than useless. Anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are conceptually not the same, and conflating them is dangerous. Natalie, why did you just do it then, dude? You're conflating Judaism and Zionism, and now you're saying that the conflation is dangerous? You just did it, my dude. Okay, nice beam. But in practice, the way Israel is perceived does seep out into attitudes towards Jews in general. Yes, almost as if the conflation that Israel constantly does is bad. Almost as if there's a problem with the conflation that Israel is doing. Natalie? I don't think Jews who feel isolated and wary in the current atmosphere are simply hysterical hallucinating. I mean, if they're anti-Zionist Jews, like, yeah, they don't, generally speaking, they understand, like, why. Like, what's going on is bad. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Why are you saying this? This is a very strange, confusing thing. Yes, there's communal trauma and hypervigilance. Wait, I have a question for Natalie. Natalie, have you ever seen, like, or Contrapoints? Did you ever see, like, any of the fucking goddamn videos of, like, the Zionists who consistently drummed up hysteria in order to, like, justify police crackdowns on, like, the student protesters within Columbia University? Because it was the Zionists who were doing that. They did that. Not, like, anti-Zionist protesters. It was the media and Zionists that were doing all those, particular, like, conflations and hyper-inflation of the sort of, like, anti-Semitism going on university campuses. Like, what do you mean? Yes, there's disingenuous right-wing ghouls dismissing and censoring all criticism of Israel on the pretext of fighting anti-Semitism, but there's also a valid fear of historical anti-Semitic patterns reoccurring, and that fear gives power to the right-wing Zionist claim that that only Israel can keep Jews safe. The problem is the fact that Israel is making the claim that it can only keep Jews safe, right? So people do the fucking conflation because Israel does the fucking conflation as its main propagandistic line. That's the problem. Like, and you're doing the same thing. That is fucking crazy. One huge cohort she's missing are majority of Zionists who aren't actually Jewish but are evangelical. That is a fantastic point, Boy Meets Mini. A lot of evangelical Christians, which are a huge part of right-wing fucking Zionists, are the ones who do this. How many fucking liberal Zionists are there in reality? I feel like the only biggest one that I can prominently immediately think of is just Ethan Klein. Like, that's it. And like Destiny, yeah, you want to fucking go to bat for the horseman of hypocrisy, the dude who like cries about snark Reddits but is a participant in snark Reddits very often himself, and Sex Pestiny. So those are the people you want batting for you, Natalie? Like, come on, dude. Like, for real. Does this mean Israel should not be criticized and sanctioned? Absolutely not, but it's something I don't want to risk contributing to, if not outweighed by tangible benefits, so I approach the issue cautiously. Dude, like, Israel has made itself a pariah state. Everyone is constantly thinking about sanctioning and cutting ties with Israel. Are they actually going to fucking do it? Maybe, probably not. But the fact that there's like Western countries now thinking about this shows to you just how much the Overton window has shifted on this particular topic alone. Like, quite literally. 4. Bitterness. Much of the online left spent all of 2024 single-mindedly focused on Palestine and the complicity of Democratic politicians in sending aid to Israel. This campaign has had the following effects. 0 Palestinian lives were saved. Not one fewer bomb or bullet was fired by the IDF. Okay, but this is a little dishonest because, again, like, one of the most Zionists of Democrats was in fucking power, right? Joe fucking Biden. He was just a complete, like, capitulant to Israel. And in fact, like, I don't even think it was fucking goddamn Biden himself. The guy that the majority report constantly mentions is Brett McGurk, right? Brett McGurk is a rabid fucking Zionist, and he was one of the top advisors within the Biden administration. Same with Matt Sullivan and, all the sort of apparatchiks around the Biden administration, right? Like, all the, like, little dipshits that would be trotted out in order to do, like, really, really pathetic, boring, like, easily debunkable propaganda. Like, it's really stupid. Yeah, but I guess I'm, like, talking about more in, like, an online perspective. Like, yeah, Gal Gadot and Sheryl Sandberg, but who the fuck cares about Gal Gadot and Sheryl Sandberg? Like, they've been, like, hardly talking about this issue as far as I can tell. Like, who the fuck cares about them? I'm talking about, like, this is sort of, like, in terms of online spaces. Like, it's barely anyone. Like, hardly. Barry Weiss? I guess. There's Barry Weiss, but whatever. It may have slightly contributed to the re-election of Trump. It definitely contributed because it depressed a lot of Democratic turnout. Like, it had a hand, for sure. Guaranteeing that the U.S. will put no diplomatic pressure on Netanyahu for at least 4 years, and making protests against Israel both much riskier and less effective. Okay, but that's kind of like a First Amendment thing. I'm pretty sure if something from Israel comes out that is just morally abhorrent enough, you're gonna fucking see everybody out on the fucking streets saying, like, this is some fucking bullshit, dude. Like, fuck right off, man. Trump is also, incidentally, a menace to me and basically everyone I care about. A perfectly enlightened being would feel no bitterness about this, but I do. Yeah, because, we have to do the sort of, like, smug, smarmy, like, guys, we also have to think about how this is, like, really bad for fucking trans people. It's like, no one disagrees with that, Natalie. Like, come on, bro. Come on, dude. This is crazy. None of this is the fault of Palestinians, of course, who are overwhelmingly the victims here. I hope that someday American policy will shift in their favor, and I will continue to support that cause. TLDR, I see the situation as bleak, intractable, extremely divisive, and devoid of any element that could be appropriately transformed into political entertainment. That's why I haven't made a video about it. Hopefully it goes without saying that these are just my thoughts. I'm sure other bread tubers have different opinions. Well, that's certainly not false. And I think, like, a big reason for as to why maybe she felt like making this post is because She made a post, she basically retweeted some Rathbone TikTok. Now, here's the thing with, like, dumbasses like Rathbone. I do think that idiots like Rathbone is probably a little anti-Semitic. I'll be quite honest. Because the dude will do the same, like, conflationary thing all the time, equivalent, like, doing, anti-Zionism to anti-Judaism sort of thing that Natalie sort of, like, mentioned before, okay? That guy, I don't like that dude. He's a complete fucking dumbass. But, whatever. Rathbone, oh boy. Very cool. Very, very good. Like, he's, like, I do think this guy is, like, he's a stupid fucking piece of shit. Like, third world is probably Maoist LARPer tier dumbass. But yeah, this guy is not, he's not great. Like, he is bad. Anyone who's, like, actually on the left, besides, like, stupid LARPers, don't really like this dude all that much. I don't really like this fucking guy all that much because I think because it makes it such that, like, Natalie here can now have, like, a perfect person to sort of, like, talk about and scapegoat. So, it's really, really fucking stupid. Bro literally campaigned for... Wait, Rathbone campaigned for RFK Jr. during the election? There's no... Is that... Can I get a source to that? Please, can I get a fucking source on that? Rathbone, RFK Jr. I need a source to that. Oh my fucking lord.
Rathbone, I'm going to let you decide what we call you tonight.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Rathbone, and I'm a musician and a teacher. And sort of like Ian, I just started a TikTok.
Because of the corporations and because of all of the crony capitalists, or what they call themselves capitalists.
Really? Does RFK Jr. pop up? Oh my god, he it's perfect, man. Oh god, bro. Yeah.
Must have learned in kindergarten. About what?
When was this? I'm curious. 11 months ago? What? Was RFK Jr. doing the sort of still was doing the sort of like Democrat LARP here stuff? What, 11 months ago? 7 months, that would have been August of last year, right? August of last year. I think at that point it was pretty clear that fucking RFK Jr. was no longer a part of the Democratic Party and was significantly shifting on the right, to the right, trying to run on like the libertarian sort of like independent candidate. So, yikes. Very, very cool. Very good. Well, that's great. Great to know. I just want to go over this in particular. Yeah, Cornel West is, like, also like, a lot of, like, the more sort of, like, I don't know if this is, like, appropriate to say, like, hippie sort of, like, vibe people believe in a lot more, like, anti-vaccine, like, conspiracism and skepticism type shit. Blah, 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 blah. I think a really good sort of encapsulation of all of this is given here by Alejandra Caraballo. I think Contrapoints' statement is wrong, and I strongly disagree with it, though it never ceases to amaze me how disposable trans women with a platform are. Legit criticism gets quickly carried away and morphs into absurd dogpiling as a form of tall poppy syndrome. This is fucking death of, again, like stuff I've mentioned about before. Death of fucking subjectivity stuff. Again, a lot of, like, online leftists and fucking specifically Marxist-Leninists, who I think are basically, like, no different than conservatives. They just drape themselves with a red coat of fucking paint. Quite literally will do the sort of soy LARP shit pretending to be fucking leftists, but in reality, they will engage in a lot of the same sort of, like, non-subjective fucking thinking and sort of, like, not... sort of like going into another person's shoes and thinking about like, okay, well, why is she saying the things that she's saying in particular? And we'll just jump to their particular conclusions that they sort of either have an affiliation to or are a part of particular social groups, so, you know, for the express purpose of signaling to those social groups that they are a part of that particular fucking social group, right? a little rambly what I'm saying there, but in essence, I'm basically saying that very often Marxist-Leninists will engage very often in sort of, well, lunch table sort of politics in order to be able to signal to people saying like, I'm one of the good guys. I'm a part of the good team. I'm good. I am to be appreciated. You know, I am one of you guys, kind of a deal, right? All the fucking time, which leads to particularly blinkered styles of thinking and belief, because you're just going to sort of always go down the particular sort of NPC dialogue tree when you are defending a thing, whether it be right or wrong, right? Because they are correct on the issue of Israel-Palestine. However, the problem is, what I'm pointing out here, essentialized thinking and sort of dogmatism, right? Very, very often, people who practice the death of fucking subjectivity are incredibly dogmatic thinkers. Very, very often is the case. I've seen this happen over and over again with just about every trans woman who has achieved any sort of online platform. At some point, they are saying something stupid and it descends into a rabid, vicious dog pile. The net result is few are able to maintain their platforms and influence for very long. I rarely, if ever, comment on intra-community discourse for this very reason. I've seen people lose years-long friendships over a post. Yeah, like, this is all a great point here as well. One fucking, like, stupid, dumbass post, and you don't, like, you just drop your fucking friendship. Were you ever friends with that individual to begin with? Just a post. This is what death of subjectivity looks like. Part of what drives posters' madness is someone having everyone in their life turn on them for mistakes online that would be quickly forgotten in an in-person context. Exactly. This is the exact same thing that I mentioned before. Like, Contrapoints is seemingly very susceptible to being perceiving betrayal from those who she thinks are her closest allies. The left, liberals, progressives, what have you. Like, the word can be like anything in particular. These are particular sort of like behaviors and actions. I'm trying to think of like what the best term here is to describe this. It's very difficult and very easy for people to sort of like fall into a pattern of feeling like they've been betrayed due to the fact that they feel like all the dogpiling that's going on from people that ostensibly agree with them on like 90 or 95% of issues to have like a complete fucking conniption on this one particular sort of thing. But that, generally speaking, is not going to be the general case for everybody, right? Although, honestly, the fact that she's like doubling and tripling down on this is making people think like, wow, she kind of like sucks on this like issue in particular. But again, this is what I've said before. I don't think she's saying this out of malice. I don't think so. I think she's saying this out of rage, anger, and betrayal. She feels betrayed by those she thinks should be her main allies. That's what I actually think. She feels like that she's getting stabbed in the back yet again, sort of in the same thing during, well, the stuff that canceling was describing in that video on canceling, when she had Buck Angel just do a voice a fucking line in particular, right? And then every fucking like online trans person decided to have like a complete fucking conniption about it. This, keep in mind, is a very, very like small minority of people, right? I'm not gonna generalize here. Like I said, like every single, it wasn't really every single one. It's a very like small minority of like, I don't know, bigger posters and users that were just like, I don't know, calling Natalie like true scum and all this fucking bullshit, right? Well, that's like not the case. It's silly and ridiculous, but like the problem is that leads to a feeling of being betrayed, and as a result, you may not want to align with those people on those particular issues because you feel like you might misstep one time and it's over. You may want to go to people who may feel more open-minded about particular issues or something and are willing to understand your perspectives and like ideas about certain things. even though they're not being honest about this at all. This is how you get a lot of people sort of quote-unquote leaving the left. Very often it's very incredulous and it's for like grifting behavior. I don't think that this is really the case for Natalie. I don't think so. But these sort of not perceived betrayals, but betrayals can sort of like lead to a snowball effect to, well, essentially people who would be ostensibly like big voices who are ostensibly on her side saying like, I can't stand for these positions anymore because I just don't agree with like any of you people, all because of these like really stupid, idiotic fucking attacks and people not engaging in subjective thinking, which should be a hallmark of the fucking left. Turn on the mistakes. The trans community is not unique in this. It's function of people in small, vulnerable communities channeling their struggle to influence the broader world into anger at the people they feel like they can actually influence, people in their community. Thus, the reaction to a terrible take and subsequent double down by Contrapoints can be met with more fury than outright genocidal rhetoric by someone on the far right. These dynamics are impossible to avoid, and folks don't have that platform won't understand what it does to you. Again, like, if people are just like there's power within the mob. There's a big mob shouting at you constantly. That's eventually going to start to affect your mentality, and you're going to have a fucking problem with it, right? Like, eventually. So I keep watching this movie over and over, happening to different trans people who get a platform in the community, knowing that they'll never be able to go outside of online platforms because of it. It's honestly exhausting. It's completely valid to criticize her for a trash take, but this isn't it. Yeah, and they're doing, like, I don't know, some stupid soy LARP shit depicting her as a fucking Nazi or whatever. Yeah, like I do think the meme of like, have you been critiquing power is funny, you know, like they want to endlessly critique genocide of Palestine, but they don't want to like do anything about it, kind of a thing. I think like that perversion is funny. It's a bit funny, but like this double down is like very condescending and fucking snooty, which is why people are making stuff like this. It's dishonest. Right? I do think so. Because I've talked about the sort of, like, original thing that, like, led up all to this. It was a dishonest interpretation from, like, well, I would say a very annoying minority of lefties who think that the genocide that's currently happening in Palestine is the be-all, end-all of all fucking genocides. Right? Like, it's bad, obviously, but if we look at, like, historical context, you know, is it, like, the worst thing to happen? Not yet. It very well could be. I have said this before. It certainly can be interpreted as the sort of quote-unquote modern Holocaust of our time. But is it like, as Contrapoints herself said, uniquely distinct from other points of fucking history? No. And I agree with her on that. This is not particularly unique. That doesn't mean she's not saying it's a good thing. She still thinks it's bad. But it's essentially saying, like, in terms of, like, the arc of the history of the world, this isn't, like, particularly crazy. Not yet. It's bad. No shit. Obviously. But there has been worse out there. And I don't think she was, when she was saying that, I don't think she was, like, doing that as, like, a sort of deflection from the fact that, she's saying that the genocide that's going on in Palestine right now is a particular fucking bad thing, right? But again, a lot of people don't engage in subjective thinking, especially in, like, online spaces and shit like that. And so, you know, the fucking goddamn double down on stuff like this for the perceived betrayal makes it fucking worse. Yeah, exactly, Boy Meets Minute. Yeah, she knows it's bad, but her underlying framework of understanding is biased toward propaganda. Exactly. There is a way, you know, if a particular person makes the fucking argument or whatever, there is certainly a way in a through line to make the appropriate argument to be able to get Natalie out of that. And you should make that attempt. But a lot of people aren't going to fucking do that. They're just going to inherently just write them off, say that they're like genocidal freaks or whatever, say fuck them, fuck you, and just be like, well, you know, you're like basically worthless. Like, you are worthless and no one fucking likes you, kind of a deal. It's really bad. It's just bad. I saw the same shit from Indian libs on Kashmir. It's frustrating. Always India-centric and Islamophobic. Exactly, right? Like, it's not only just, Israel, Palestine in particular. Right? We can talk about Myanmar, the Tamil genocide in Sri Lanka, blah, 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 blah. There's a bunch of different examples. But I do have to say, it is a bad look when Ethan Klein is fucking defending you. I gotta say. It's not great, What? Thank you, Contrapoints. It's important to remind people that there is space to be anti-genocide, pro-Palestine, but also against annihilating Israel. Again, none of these people are advocating for the annihilation of Israel. It's stupid, but then again, I expect no less from this fucking freak who barely seems to understand even, the basic tenets of the history that he, fucking defends. It is my belief that any lasting peace must have two elements: Palestinian self-determinations and secure borders for Israel. Again, in terms of secure borders for Israel, what does that exactly mean? Inherent segregation of Palestinians from being able to integrate properly with the society, thus meaning it will more than likely still deteriorate into a potential fucking genocide because you are still othering that minority population. Apartheid South Africa is a similar model and example. Without both, peace fails. It's just not true. Ilan Pape, Avi Shlaim have already proposed sort of solutions to the problems, and that is a one-state democratic solution. Integration. The U.S. was able to integrate with segregated black people, and it went fine. A similar take must be done. And I have advocated for this position and I think this is the only way that's going to be possible. A UN coalition must occupy Israel and force integration and allow the Palestinians to have a march of return to their fucking homes that were taken from them during the fucking Nakba. This is the only way. You want to have a lasting fucking solution to this, Ethan, of which you are not interested in at all. A occupation and forced fucking integration is necessary. Forced busing and everything. We all know the fucking meme, right? Reintegration of these populations is the only way forward. But that's not going to it's currently politically infeasible. Many leftists would rather focus on purity tested social credits than having a meaningful, realistic conversation about creating lasting peace. Well, I just proposed it, Ethan. Would you want that? Would you want that, Ethan? Occupation from the UN, quite literally, a multilateral, multinational coalition of all countries within the UN must go in and force the Israeli state to integrate with Palestinians. Because that is the only way I see potentially being forward to creating a lasting peace. None of this fucking secure border fucking bullshit. None of this fucking segregation type fucking shit like what you're fucking proposing. That's not gonna fucking work, okay? It's inevitably going to lead back up to some potential resentment, othering of populations, and people are gonna start shooting each other again in the fucking streets. The reaction to your post will prove my point, unfortunately. Well, unfortunately, it won't. Because your point is inherently built off of an idiotic, propagandistic retelling of fucking history. Again, like I've said before, the hallmark of a fucking conservative is quite literally misappropriation of historical events to be able to push political points. Quite literally. So, it's just unfortunate that we kind of have ended up here. I don't think Contra's going to care either way, right? I don't think she's going to clap back, to be honest, to Boy Meets Minnie, because why would she, right? And there's no point. There's no reason. She's probably just going to be like, okay, whatever. I've had enough of this bullshit, which is whatever. I don't think it's going to happen. Well, overall, this post here is just... it's kind of dog shit. I'm gonna be honest. This is just a bad post. It's just a bad post. I don't think there's, really much else to say besides the fact that it's just, going along with Zionist propaganda, the line that Israel has constantly pushed, and also does the conflation of Judaism to Zionism. that's the main problem that we have here, to the extent that this is, and also for the extent that this is all about fucking left bashing, quite literally, right? I don't like throwing out the term left bashing constantly, but this is just left bashing. Like, this is what it actually looks like, right? Going along with, like, the sort of, like, Israeli propagandistic line in order to justify saying, like, why the left specifically is only bad on this issue, when the bigger problem is, and we want to focus on root causes and basis of things, the issue is the state of Israel conflating Judaism and Zionism, and doing the conflationary thing in terms of saying that they are the only state that is safe for Israel, even though that they did a bunch of terrorist attacks on Middle Eastern Jewish communities within Iraq, Morocco, Yemen, in order to justify people to start moving from there into Israel, right? Like, that's not... We have historical precedent for this. It's been written about. We know that this has happened, right? It's been declassified information. We know about this, right? So, again, the problem is that the whole basis of this is operating off of the framework of Israeli propaganda, which is propaganda. It's inherently dishonest, and I have talked about why it is inaccurate. So it's just unfortunate that the sort of, non-subjective thinking leftists have essentially pushed her into this position to sort of, like, adopt something that I don't think she is saying out of, like, malice. I think she is saying this purely out of anger and rage of all the people that she perceives is stabbing her in the back, is what I actually think in reality, right? And this is what this is honestly, the consequences of death of subjectivity, right? I do think that Contrapoints in and of herself is partially engaging in a little bit of death of subjectivity in and of herself, but it's nowhere near as bad as, say, like, a lot of the right-wingers and the stupid Marxist-Leninists who are also engaging in the behavior, prescribing particular positions, thoughts, and beliefs onto Natalie of herself, making it such that she now adopts this in particular and writes a stupid, like, snooty, like, condescending Reddit post about it, saying, like, actually, I hate the left, you guys are stinky, and here's a bunch of Israeli fucking propaganda. And it's just like, well, it's just unfortunate that we kind of, like, find ourselves in this position, right? Because this is a wretched post. This is a bad post. But she's saying this out of, well, dismay and anger, quite literally. So, I don't know. I don't think there's really much else to say this besides the death of subjectivity is cringe. I hate it. It sucks. And Contrapoints is cringe posting on main, and Ethan Klein is a loser. Don't think there's really much else to say besides that.